The sacrifice of Isaac. When a man has walked many years with God, he begins to think, he understands how faith will unfold. He becomes familiar with the patterns of blessing and testing, with the long silences and the moments of miraculous provision. Yet, there comes a trial that cuts deeper than all others, one that demands a surrender so complete that no previous sacrifice can prepare the heart. Such was the moment when Abraham heard the voice of God calling him by name, not in a dream or vision, but with a clarity that left no room for doubt. "Abraham," the Lord said, and Abraham answered as he always had, "Here I am." Then came the words that shattered everything he thought he knew of God's promise. "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will show you." The command fell into the quiet of the early morning like a stone into still water. Even the dawn seemed to hold its breath. Isaac, the child of laughter, the son born to Sarah's barren womb in the twilight of her years. Isaac, in whose face Abraham saw the culmination of every covenant word God had spoken. The boy was not merely his offspring. He was the living proof that God could do the impossible. To lose him would be more than the loss of a child. It would be the collapse of every hope Abraham had dared to believe. Yet the voice did not waver, and Abraham did not argue. He did not remind God of the promise. He did not plead for another test. He rose in silence while darkness still covered the hills, and he made ready for the journey. He saddled his donkey. He split the wood for the burnt offering, himself, feeling every strike of the blade. He called to Isaac, still sleeping, unaware of the burden he would carry. He summoned his servants to accompany them. There was no farewell to Sarah, no explanation to ease her heart. Some things could not be shared. They set out while the stars still burned overhead, their steps muffled by the dust of the trail. The servants walked behind, whispering their speculations. Isaac moved beside his father, unaware that each mile led them closer to an altar meant for him. For 3 days they traveled. Each dawn revealed the boy's face in new light, sometimes alight with curiosity, sometimes softened by sleep, and each time Abraham felt the weight of the command grow heavier. He spoke little, for words seemed frail against the enormity of what awaited them. When they paused to rest, he watched Isaac laugh and stretch his arms to the sky that held the God who had given and was now demanding. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the mountain rising in the distance. Its silhouette was sharp against the morning light, a place appointed long before Abraham had drawn his first breath. He turned to his servants. "Stay here with the donkey," he told them. "The boy and I will go over there. We will worship, and then we will return to you." The words were a fragile defiance against despair. "We will return." Whether he spoke out of faith or out of need to believe, even he did not fully know. He took the wood and laid it on Isaac's shoulders. In his own hands he carried the fire and the knife. Together they climbed. The path was narrow, and the silence pressed on them until Isaac, puzzled, spoke at last. "Father, here I am, my son. The fire and the wood are here," Isaac said, glancing around. "But where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" The question struck Abraham like a blade. He looked at the boy, the son of his heart, and forced his voice to steady. "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." Isaac nodded, trusting, and they climbed on. Each step was an agony of obedience, each breath a prayer without words. When they reached the place God had shown him, Abraham set down the fire and knife. He began to build the altar stone by stone. Isaac helped, unaware of the purpose. Together they laid the wood in careful order. When it was done, Abraham turned to his son with eyes that held both love and sorrow deeper than words could contain. He spoke Isaac's name, and in that moment, the boy must have seen the truth in his father's face. There was no struggle, only a stunned acceptance. Abraham bound Isaac's hands, his own hands shaking as he tied the cords. He laid him gently upon the wood. The boy looked up, his eyes wide, searching his father's face for something: assurance, understanding, hope. Abraham had no answer to give. He reached for the knife. His arm rose, each heartbeat a thunder in his chest. The blade caught the light. In that instant, the world held its breath. Then the voice came again, urgent, unmistakable. "Abraham, Abraham." He stopped, the knife trembling in his grip. "Here I am," he gasped. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," the angel of the Lord said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." The words broke over him like water. His knees gave way, and he fell beside the altar, the knife clattering to the stones. Tears blurred his vision. Slowly, he lifted his head, and there, caught in a thicket by its horns, was a ram. Abraham rose, hands shaking, and took the ram. With a voice hoarse from weeping, he untied Isaac, who clung to him without words. Together they laid the ram upon the altar. The flames rose, consuming the sacrifice. It was not Isaac, but it was enough. Abraham called the place, "The Lord will provide." And to this day it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." Then the angel of the Lord spoke again. "By myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. Through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me. The promise was not new, but this time, it carried a depth Abraham had never imagined. To surrender the promise itself and to find it restored was to understand that God alone held every future. They descended the mountain together, father and son. The servants waited below, relief and wonder on their faces. They journeyed home in silence, the mountain receding behind them, its summit, now a monument to faith that cost everything. In years to come, Isaac would remember the day when he had been laid upon the wood, the day his father's obedience had brought him to the brink of death. He would tell his children of the God who provided, the God who demanded all yet gave more than he asked. And in an age far distant, another son would climb another hill, carrying the wood of sacrifice upon his shoulders. But on that day, no voice would call out to spare him. No ram would take his place. For he was himself the lamb, the provision for all sin, the fulfillment of every shadow cast by Maria's altar.